That was Christine Quinn with a very interesting segment. And we are here at Stribling's, New York. Just remember, if you're buying, selling, or just thinking about it, and you need to be connected to a top real estate professional, I'll make this easy. Contact Tony Simone at TSIMONE at stribling.com, STRIBLING.com. Tony will connect you to himself, of course, or an expert on anything you'd like to know about real estate. And speaking of experts, from Stribling and Associates today, we have Catherine Witherwax joining us, who is an expert on many things, but one of those areas is Brooklyn, since we've been talking a lot about Brooklyn today. And we will be later. Stay tuned. We're going to have Brooklyn native Tony Lobianco on the show. He's been a New York fixture forever. But anyway, welcome, Catherine.
Welcome, Catherine.
Thank
Tony's
you.
joining us, too. So, Catherine, you are the manager of the Stribling's office in Brooklyn. Is that correct?
Yes. Tomorrow will actually be my 3rd anniversary
Congrats.
of joining Stribling, and almost our 3rd anniversary of opening our Brooklyn office on Atlantic Avenue.
That's great.
So, what if you were going to tell me anything you could about Brooklyn? If I was just landed in my alien ship, what can entice me to move to Brooklyn instead of Manhattan right now?
Oh my gosh.
Instead of playing, should I be doing that? Oh, I'm going to ask the tough questions. It's a Mike Wallace question.
You know, there's something for everyone in Brooklyn, whether it's food or athletics or entertainment or education. There's just so much there for everyone and every interest. For me personally, I grew up in Brooklyn. My family's been there forever. And I can't imagine living anywhere else. So I have a very tainted view of Brooklyn.
Where'd you grow up in Brooklyn?
On Plaza Street. I was born at 47 Plaza and moved to 20 Plaza, and now live 4 blocks from there.
So for the alien here, where's Plaza Street?
It's 47 Plaza Street falls in the Park Slope section of Brooklyn.
Lovely.
And 20 Plaza falls in the Prospect Heights section of Brooklyn, on one side of Flatbush Avenue or the other.
You know, Brooklyn, now we're talking about it as so many sections. It used to be like, you had Coney Island, you had Flatbush, and you had Midwood, and maybe Canarsie.
That's
I mean,
right.
It's how many, but do you know, is there a total number of sections?
No, I don't know off the top of my head. And
I want to find that
perhaps
out.
I should. But I think every year there's almost micro neighborhoods created.
Exactly. I guess that's
Like
where
Industry
I'm going.
City.
You've
Yeah.
answered the question.
You know, what was once Park Slope became Prospect Heights.
Right. Exactly.
Crown Heights has emerged. Pro Crow has emerged as a blended region between the two. Sort of a Tribeca version in Brooklyn. Red Hook certainly has popped on the scene.
They have great lobster.
Great lobster, fantastic food, fantastic water views. But at one point, I think that was all called Carroll Gardens. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then what about near Sheepshead Bay? I'm always going back to, probably because my great uncle Benny lived in Coney Island, and at one point nobody wanted to visit him anymore because he lived in like a 7th floor walk up, and we couldn't make it up and down the stairs. I was 9 years old. I'm like, I'm not walking up there. How old's Uncle Benny? He's 90. He does it 5 times a day. So I'm being tangential here, but I am curious about the Sheepshead Bay area because I think it's so charming. And as Brooklyn just keeps gentrifying, it's like a rolling thunder.
It is. Well, Sheepshead Bay, I think, has really maintained sort of its fisherman roots. It still feels very connected to the water, more so, I think, than many other parts of Brooklyn. So I don't visit it that often. I have seen all sort of the fishing charters. I believe there's even a gambling boat that goes a few miles offshore where suddenly it becomes legal. And there are some really great homes in pockets. Manhattan Beach, parts of Mill Basin have some extremely beautiful large homes.
I was on the D train, I think, this summer, and I saw kids with surfboards on the subway, and they said they were heading to Manhattan Beach.
Yeah.
You'll see that a lot.
That's cool.
You'll see them heading out to the Rockaways in Queens, which is a very interesting poor man's Hamptons beach destination. Again, there are some food huts that have followed the folks out there, and it's a very interesting spot to visit.
Tony had some questions
Yeah,
for you about food.
where do you love to eat in Brooklyn? I mean, what's a great restaurant?
That's the wrong question for me. I will go anywhere for anything. Our favorite local spot at the moment is a restaurant called Bar Corvo.
Okay.
They serve northern Italian food, and it's just exquisite and fresh. I love going out to Diker Heights. I have a favorite family restaurant, again, Italian. I love Italian food, called Tommaso's. He's been there forever. He's an opera singing chef. There's another great spot.
Does he sing opera while he's cooking?
He doesn't sing while he's cooking, but he comes out of the kitchen and sings with this booming voice that just fills the
I want to
restaurant.
make a note of this. Where is Tommaso's?
Tommaso's is on 86th Street and about 14th Avenue.
That's Bay Ridge?
Diker Heights.
Diker? No, okay, sorry. When I heard 86th Street.
Yeah, but I would highly recommend it. We love dim sum in Sunset Park. I'll go anywhere for great food. I love to eat.
Now that we're hungry,
Yes.
just to shift a little bit, you get given a presentation in the past about the changing commercial sector of Brooklyn.
Right.
You know, it used to be a time when everyone, lived in Brooklyn and commuted into Manhattan, but now you can live, work, and never leave Brooklyn. Like I once did, worked in Dumbo, lived in Cowell
Yeah.
Gardens. It's definitely a newer phenomenon.
It's so exciting. So, of course, I work in residential real estate, and that's really where my passion lies. But I've seen a real trend for Brooklyn in the last 2 years and moving forward with plans for the next 10 years about increasing the commercial spaces and industrial spaces, which I believe is the key to maintaining Brooklyn's strength in the residential market. Industry City has been a huge success. The Nets just opened up their practice space, so they're the first NBA team to have a practice space in all of New York City. Lilac Chocolates, which is one of my favorite chocolatiers, has a production spot there.
They moved from the Village to Brooklyn.
They moved from the Village on the cutest little lilac storefront on Christopher Street to this massive spot in Industry City, which is just beautiful. So that's exciting. That's exciting for the surrounding Sunset Park neighborhood. It's really going to revitalize a part of Brooklyn that needed a little oomph. And these warehouses were abandoned. They were useless, and they've become incredibly useful and a destination spot.
Well, it seems like Brooklyn is then really becoming the new Manhattan because it's all about the neighborhood now in Brooklyn. And the more and more development that takes place in New York City, where I live on the Upper East Side, so I believe we've discussed this before on the show. Extel is building a huge high-rise, but they wiped out an entire block to do that, so we lost a shoe shine place, a dry cleaner, a pizzeria.
Those are vital to a community.
And
You
all of the
need-
things you talk about Manhattan having, we're having less and less of them.
Well, we are too, to be fair. But that is why I think it's another great reason to consider Brooklyn. We still have the local butcher shop. We still have a shoe shine place in most neighborhoods. And those little mom and pop shops really give any neighborhood, any city, its real texture and culture.
That is unique about Brooklyn. When I lived in Cowell Gardens, it was like sometimes being in Paris.
The bakeries.
You have to go to 6 stores to buy dinner,
Yeah.
but you know all the owners, and that's like
That's right.
a
You
part
go
of
to
New
the
York
cheese
that we have
shop,
to keep. Right?
And you go to the butcher, and then you go to the baker, and you get your fresh bread, and they're running around the little village delivering them at 6 a.m. to the local restaurants. It's very local.
And it's still a quasi-car culture, too. You can have a car there and drive from one place to
We're
another.
sort
if
of
you
a
need to.
two-headed monster. We love our cars, and we hate our cars. And there's been a lot of friction between the addition of the bike lanes, which I happen to think are great, and the car culture. So we're a little we're butting heads there, but we do love our cars.
Well, we're going to have to come over and visit the Brooklyn office, and maybe we can go on
Absolutely.
a tour of
I'd love
a
to.
couple of neighborhoods. I'd like to see Diker Heights.
Diker Heights is beautiful. It is exquisite at Christmas time. Many of the houses are over-decorated with lights and moving figurines, and it's really become a situation of outdoing one another. So it's quite interesting.
The townhouses in Clinton Hill and surrounding neighborhoods are
Townhouses in
beautiful.
Clinton Hill do a beautiful job at Halloween, outdoing one another. So that's become a little bit of a house tour tradition. But there's so many great pockets to investigate and to learn more about.
Well, we've learned so much today. We want you to come back and tell us more. And if anybody wants to learn more about Stribling and Associates and Stribling's New York, contact Tony, as I've said before, at Tsimone, Tsimone, at stribling.com. And he will answer all of your questions and direct you to Catherine if you want to buy a mansion
Wonderful.
in Diker Heights or
just an
a
apartment.
studio apartment, whatever you'd like, or something in between. There's plenty of real estate and plenty to learn about Brooklyn.
And plenty to see.
Plenty to see, and Catherine will answer
Plenty
all
to
those
eat.
questions. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Catherine.